First time anybody clapped. I'm just going to call it out of order. I was confused. Health and Human Resources.
Yeah, we have one resolution. I can't find it right now, but I know that there was participation in the. Thank you. This was participation in an incentive program offered by the New York State Department of Health, and it was focused on sexually transmitted disease and general communicable disease control, reporting, and measures. And what we're seeking is to take the state aid of $13,000, increase revenues, and increase appropriations in 3 accounts. One would be for computer equipment, which I think we can talk about because we think we're supposed to centralize our computer purchases. Advertising, $3,000. On the way up here tonight, I heard our own advertisement, county advertisement, about inoculation for childhood diseases. So $3,000 for advertising and $3,000 for educational programs. I think just up for discussion is the $7,000 for computer equipment. I'm thinking that was part of the application for the aid, and so that $7,000 was allocated for that amount. And would ask that we bring this to the full board.
A second.
Who's sponsored?
I mean, Duke's committee, but I'll sponsor it.
Okay. All in favor? Okay. And that does it. Is there any other business before us? With that, I'll adjourn this committee. Thank you.
You second?
I second.
Okay. Carrie? Next.
Yeah. I'd like to call the Committee of Physical Services to order. Anything from the floor from my fellow legislators? Any discussion?
Terry, if I could just, I don't know if you all checked your email today, but I sent you the weekly report on the public safety building from Paul, so you didn't get a chance to look at it.
Since we're doing some business now, the auction, the 3 RFPs that were given to us to auction our foreclosure property, we need to have those worksheets in by next week during the Budget and Finance Committee meeting. And if you don't know what they are, they're these things that were sent out or given to us. All right, so if I could have those back next week, or if Cheryl could.
Let me know that they're.
And then we have a presentation by all 3 during the Budget and Finance meeting. Yes.
I'll look forward to looking through those over the next week. But my question would be kind of broad, but also to the county attorney. You know, we've identified problems in the process the past 2 years now. And I know the county attorney has indicated some concern with how things are done. I just wonder whether for the next year, it may be a good idea to not foreclose on properties this year, and have a moratorium on foreclosure for the next set a time limit next year or so that we can have our council and potentially even one of these companies work with us in figuring out the best way to do this. A lot of counties pass their own foreclosure law. I'm not saying that we do that. There's always the land bank that could potentially pop up at any moment, but I just wonder if it would be an appropriate move to not move forward with a flawed process again this year. That's it. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else?
Can we do that?
May I have the floor?
Yes.
I would not recommend taking that route this year for a couple of different options. But regarding the foreclosure process itself, I've already been in contact with the treasurer and real property, and we are in the process of starting an advanced review of properties coming up for foreclosure to identify issues. I think that we can start to implement a better process without needing to take a whole year to get something in place, and continue to build on it next year, obviously. But I also think that keeping, when we can get properties back on the tax roll, we should try to do that but have more of an analysis going into it, which we're trying to implement already here.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Moving on. Also, I believe we passed out there's a stewardship report from our property and casualty insurance group. It's basically an update or a report from the previous year on what they've done. There's some outstanding claims yet, and you can see those. So it's good reading if you want to really know how many lawsuits we have. So.
It's important to me.
Right.
It's good.
So, anyways, I think this was probably the first time we've ever gotten a report like that, and I'm sure there'll be more to come, so that'll be good. Okay, moving on to resolutions. Resolution authorizing Montgomery County to enter into the required subrecipient agreement with the Housing Trust Fund Corporation as required in the implication of the New York State Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery CDBG-DR program, and to authorize the county executive to sign any and all documents required in the implication of the program and the rescinding resolution of 162 of 2015. Have a sponsor in a second.
Sponsor?
Second would be, you got that? Move it to full board.
Full board.
Anything else before physical services?
Motion to adjourn?
Second? Bob.
You gonna stay there?
People would be discouraged if I sit from my desk.
Are you in camera lens?
Almost for prosperity. I'd like to call the Economic Development Planning Committee to order. Do we have any discussion from the floor? If there's no discussion from the floor, I'd like to offer some discussion. I'd like to discuss the conversation that we started on tourism. And I think the first thing that we should do is to establish what our goals are and what we're wanting. I I would ask that if we could discuss now, one, what the legislators feel tourism is to Montgomery County, and also add what our expectations are.
Well, I think tourism is an added vehicle to our economy, bringing people into the county that they're day trippers or couple day trippers. They'll take a hotel and go in the county. But they spend, money here locally. I think moving forward, we need to come up with a way of grading our dollars. Are they being spent effectively? And I think also, since we've been here as the legislature, we've seen two different approaches. I think there are good qualities from both of them. Something that I missed this year was the local advertising that we were able to get in years past. Although I think that we shouldn't leave the table when it comes to matching from funds from I Love New York. That also being said, I don't think we should just throw the money out there and walk away and say, why didn't it work? Not pointing fingers at, anybody, because I think we're at fault too for not beginning that dialogue.
I would agree on the latter point, especially. We don't really have a good way of, right now, of fully understanding what services are being delivered by the Chamber of Commerce. The last visit that we got from the director there was seeking legislation to undo the scaffold laws in New York State. I think that a presentation with respect to what is actually being done would be more informative than emails or letters. I think we need to talk so that we understand fully. Because right now, as I see it, we are spending $55,000 for the administration of virtually $110,000. $55,000 that we put in and $55,000 that is matched by I Love New York. Further, I think we should also hear from our own economic development people. I'm thinking back when we were discussing this during the meeting, that one of my colleagues mentioned that, well, maybe if we think we can do that in-house, that means that they have the time on their hands to do this, and maybe we don't need all those people over there, which I think has a pretty chilling effect on people who work for the county, who perhaps can step up and think they can maybe deliver a little bit more. I think we send the wrong message to people that work for the county when we tell them that, well, if you can take on extra work, then maybe they're killing people in their department. I think we need to hear from both. We need to hear how that could be handled in-house, and I think we need to understand more fully what we're getting from the chamber.
Yeah, I think the two counties are dramatically different in the way they should be presented as tourism counties should be considered. Montgomery County doesn't have a hotel. We have a lot of, like Chairman Kelly said, Montgomery County does have a lot of places to go for day trips. There's a lot of agricultural things in Montgomery County that aren't up in Fulton County. And I think basically, the way I've been thinking about it, it's really important that we get the things in our county mentioned and think about how much money we have to spend to do that, whether we do it with the chamber or whether we do it internally. I think that's what we need to talk about.
Mr. Quackenbush.
I guess being around a little while has some benefits. I've watched this merry-go-round for 14 years where we get rid of it, then we bring it back, and we get rid of it and bring it back. And I was just hoping that someday in the near future, it gets someplace, wherever it ends up, that really gets the attention it needs and, you know, has a happy home. I guess my bigger question would be with, like, for instance, and I don't want to put Ken on the spot, and I know Ken is probably, I don't want Ken just to tell us what he thinks we might want to hear, but, you know, is it something that you, if I may, wherever the chairman is it something that the department can, I know you're going to say, oh yeah, sure, we can do it because you want to be good guys, but is it something you could really take on, you know, again, be successful with? Do you really, I don't want to say you really want to do it, but do you really think that it can be put in there? Later down the road, is it going to have to be, you know, I need more help now because we've taken on this extra, you know, I'm just looking for straight up, you know, do you
The only thing I'll answer.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's fine. The only thing I'll answer in relation to that, legislator Quackenbush, is we did it before with 2 less staff members. I told the chair that I'll be getting a white paper tomorrow in relation to tourism, just explaining the history of it and just my thoughts on it. That's all I'm going to say about it.
And I think before we go putting our economic development or the chamber on, can you handle it or not, or are we going to, we need to come up with a plan so that we're not faced with the 14-year merry-go-round and going in and out and stuff, and actually come up with a plan, something that, you know, not just, oh yeah, we should do this, we'll give it to them, they give us a plan.
And I think we've opened up that discussion. I mean, we're just not throwing it one way or the other right now like you guys used to do it before. We're actually trying to say what's best for the county right now. And I think regardless, it's going to work out better for the county when we get done with this. Like Bob brought that idea up, and I think it's good.
Chair, I think what we're doing here is great, and we probably should have done this back in January and kind of let the chamber know where we're coming from. It sounds like to me the consensus is that we know with I Love New York there's some restrictions, and we're really we want to work, you know, we want to do more local events too, and so it sounds like we'll probably have to add some money in order to advertise maybe, you know, local ventures that won't be covered
We wouldn't have to add.
under the grant.
We would just allocate less towards the matching funds. Instead of 55,000 for matching, we could offer 45,000 for matching and end up with 90,000 for I Love New York and 10,000 for local advertising.
And I would like to have a way where nonprofits, maybe county agencies, would have access to. Obviously not businesses, because they're probably a chamber member, and the chamber's handling their advertising. But the bottom line, I think we need to communicate more. I think there's a lot of events that goes on in the county, and some way we need to get involved with those events more and advertise them. And I guess that's my spiel.
Yeah, I guess, I mean, I've made myself clear on my thoughts on moving it in-house, and Ken actually sent me a nice breakdown of what was done in-house when it was done in-house. And I've asked Ken actually just this afternoon, but it sounds like he's sending something over tomorrow on what exactly it would take to do that in-house. Because I just find it kind of shocking that we have a department that can take on a whole nother large task, or it should be a large task. But as far as contracting that out, I agree with what Martin and Terry have said. You know, this, you can't give $110,000 to an agency and say, okay, here's 55s for administration, 55s for I Love New York grants, local match, and then just walk away for a year and come back a year later and be upset that it wasn't done the way you wanted it to be done. But that was never specified. So specifying how it be done, I think putting, breaking up that 55,000 of I Love into some local advertising and some local match, or if it's deemed necessary to keep that 55 and put some more money for local advertising, I think that might be a good idea as well. But you know, it's a discussion that needs to. I mean, we need to involve the current contractor, the current consultant, in on this. And until we do that, you know, we got to identify what our problems are and where we want to go.
Joe was.
I was gonna ask Tom, I was gonna say, have you ever really sat down and instructed the chamber or anybody to do things, or you just kind of said, here's the money and do it?
I believe that when we've had it in-house, we've had discussions. I don't think whenever it's went back the other way, there were much, I mean, there may have been discussions with the department, I don't know. But I don't believe as a board of supervisors that.
So you don't ever remember getting together and sitting down?
I just remember fighting over, I just remember arguing over, there was the question I had was, isn't there a date coming up soon that we gotta name the?
We have a month for that yet.
Right. This is one that would always come up, it seems like. It would always be just about the time when. So I don't think, I agree with everything that's being said here. I don't think there's ever been any really, you know, other than, I think we've had discussions on it when we've had it here, but I don't think when we've thrown it the other side. And again, that's no fault of the chambers either, prior to the merger or before. It's just we've never really done that and asked them to do it. This leading to some great discussion.
Legislator 6.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think you make a good point. I wonder how big a task it is, because, and I don't know the answer to a lot of these, and we'll get these answers, but it appears to me that a $20,000 position was created, and then part-time position, and then $30,000 just, I think, goes just to administrative. I don't know what that means exactly. We're going to find out. And then I noticed too that at the chamber website that all of the positions are double titled. You know, the same thing. So we have it's a full Montgomery Chamber of Commerce, but the people's titles are I don't know, Tourism Director Montgomery County and Tourism Director Fulton County. The same person. So we take a look at their website. So it looks like there's still that division. And the other thing that I got, and you know, I think we're just seeing a lot of this, is that agencies, in this case it's not an agency, but entities like this I think are struggling, and it becomes you know, a matter of survival for them. That's indeed, you know, that's why there are. I don't think the two chambers were brought together strictly because it was a good idea. I think that they were struggling financially. And so I'm starting to look at some of this maybe as a subsidy for the Chamber of Commerce. I want to learn that I'm wrong. I hope that I'm wrong about that.
So,
I'm not saying that we take full responsibility for awarding them $110,000 because we've given money to our insurance companies, and look at these nice little pamphlets they give us. You know, you should be accountable to somebody.
So if I could kind of summarize what we're all talking about, kind of get some direction towards an end. And one question I have is, does the legislature have an ability to have a Dropbox online somewhere, first of all?
Yes.
Can we set up a Dropbox for suggestions or what we specifically think our goals are? And they're starting goals, they're not the end product, but I think if we start at that, I think that's a good start. My personal feeling is that we have two organizations that can do a good job. I think if we can work together with both organizations and create a hybrid between the two of them, I think we can do a great job or a better job. I think that it's hard for us as a legislative body to direct any entity, whether it's Ken's department or the chamber, to daily operations or what we want. So if we had some hybrid between Ken's office and the chamber, maybe there could be a better chain of conversation or communication. Just suggestions. I'm hearing that we really need to have some metrics or measurements to see how successful we are or whether we're achieving our goals. Local advertising seems to be a theme as opposed to the New York program, which is not supposed to be used internally. You know, your question is why it did not work. Well, we need to identify again what we want before we can say, well, it didn't work. We all have to take ownership in it, and I think we're starting to do that. I think that's a great thing. Updating meetings and things like that are important. I think agriculture is important. Hotels is an important part of this, okay, because it feeds into our bed tax and things like that. But we have to have that same direction to go that we support a hotel and what we're going to do to make that happen. If we expect to have bed tax and we expect to do tourism. So we need to bring that all together. So if we can, Cheryl, if you would be so kind to set up some sort of a Dropbox.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, who do you want included in the,
I think that it'd be a good idea to include all the legislatures. I'd like to keep Ken in the loop. I think Matt should be in the loop. Is anybody else that would be
do you want
constructive?
Megan?
Megan? Sure, Megan.
What the hell?
Mr. Chairman, are we going to be meeting with the chamber?
I think that's maybe a next step, but I want to first get our direction first. I think that's a great idea. We have to be able to converse. We need to tell what our expectations are. We just can't send them telepathically.
Well, yeah, well, I can use that a little bit, because simply put, I just want to understand why it costs us $1 to administer two.
Well, we can have that discussion. I think that's a great
I
discussion.
want to understand that in a definitive way through conversation as opposed to promotional materials.
So I'll send a link out to everyone tomorrow. It'll be through the intranet, so y'all have to make sure you have your username and password.
Would you make sure that Legislator Wheeler is brought up to date on it?
Yes.
I think also as we're moving forward in this Dropbox and trying to, when are we going, and if I missed it, I'm sorry, when are we going to be made aware of how they were spent? Like, we got the plan back when we first signed the contract. Where is the end result, financially?
So let's have that conversation. Let's add that to that. So we can start working towards
I
it.
don't want to just be told, oh, the state handles it, you don't have to worry.
I think that you're entitled to that. Any other discussion?
I'm just going to tell you that I just have an article, I don't know if you've got a copy of it, somebody emailed it to me about the Hello New York process is one of the worst run organizations in the state of New York. Did anybody get a copy of that email?
That's above our pay grade. It's above our pay grade.
All right, if there's no more discussion, let's put an end to that and we can move on to the resolutions. We have two resolutions before us today. One is authorizing the county executive to sign a revolving loan fund agreement with Mayor McGaw Information Systems LLC through Economic Development and Planning. We have a motion or any discussion?
Sponsor.
Sponsors? Thank you. Number 5. Seconded by number 2.
Getting like me.
Any discussion? All those in favor of moving it forward to the full board?
Aye.
Thank you. Second resolution has to do with confirming the appointment term of a representative of the Fulton, Montgomery, and Schoharie County Workforce Development Board made by the county executive.
Sponsor.
Don't know if I can second on that committee, but I will if I
You
can.
can. Okay. Any discussion? All in favor of moving it to the full board?
Aye.
Have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Seconded?
Right?
Number 3.
All right, come on. I'm gonna, when I do roll call, I'm gonna call you guys right now.
I started that, I knew we never started that.
Number 1?
Yeah. You're number 2.
You know what that really means?
Yeah. I'll be I'm happy to
It
say
kind of
it.
fits, don't it?
I'd rather have him leave.
You guys don't want
Move on, definitely go to another meeting.
I'd like to call to order the Public Safety Committee meeting. Is there any discussion on the floor?
I do have a discussion.
You go right ahead, sir.
So, before the sheriff contacts the rest of the legislature, there's a contract for our medicines, prescriptions, pharmaceutical, I don't know, a jail contract that got overlooked. We will be moving forward. He can sign the agreement. We cannot amend the 2016 budget until 2016. And that, also, unless it's a typo, there's a resolution on here amending.
So we have to pull that resolution, is that correct, Chairman, or no? Do we have a resolution about tonight, or?
Well, yeah, I don't see it on here, the one that he was,
You can't do it until 2016 now, though, right?
but he can still move forward with the provider.
Very good.
But does he need a resolution to do that? Just to move forward?
I can understand it was a very lengthy meeting that night with all of those things, so I think basically something might get left out along the way there. I'm saying something I did, so. Okay, any other discussions?
That's it. Bad at the budget all the way around.
Okay, let's go to the resolutions then. Resolution number, I think not number one, numbers are on resolution number 2. And that's amending the 2015 operating budget. The Sheriff's Department, is there
Sponsor.
second? Second. Okay, how about moving it to full board?
Full board.
Full board.
Okay, thank you. Let's move on again. Let's see, County Emergency Management, we've got him sitting here. Why don't you tell us what the head is, Jeff? We gotta let you say something, you've been sitting there all night, so.
Is that the essential service provider?
Yes.
Okay,
That is the essential service provider.
I've recognized over the past few years the need for some sort of policy or system to assist our home health care nurses, our ER doctors, our ER nurses, because when we deal with large emergencies or disasters and we declare a state of emergency, sometimes we limit conditions like travel. Also, when we have disasters like floods, we have law enforcement officials or fire police officials that shut down roads because there is flooding on that highway. The problem is if the flooding is here where the gate is, we shut the roads down at the intersecting roads to assist with traffic, otherwise we can't turn people around. Well, between where the flooding is and where the road is shut down at the intersection, there's people that aren't necessarily affected by that flood that still live in those homes, or like the hospital is there. A perfect example, the last disaster we had where a disaster was declared, we had an ER doctor attempt to get to the ER, and we had a state trooper that wouldn't allow him to get off the thruway because the road was closed due to flooding. But the ER wasn't affected, and I'm trying to come up with a way that will help these healthcare nurses, ER doctors, essential service providers communicate with either the law enforcement official or the fire police official, show them an ID placard that they're registered with the emergency service department, and explain to where they're going. And there would also be questions that the law enforcement and fire police would ask them and assure that they are who they are. You saw the attachments with the questions, and you saw the liability waiver. I worked with the county attorney and our insurance company to develop this. I don't know if it's a foolproof plan. It's just something that I've been working on and an idea that I had, and I think it would assist our citizens and assist our first responders if it was implemented. And Megan and I agreed that we needed to go to insurance first and then come to you second to make sure you were okay with starting a new process. By no means does it give anybody the authority to break a law, doesn't give them the authority to go where they want to go, and they have to register with me. There's also going to be a fee to purchase those cards. There's going to be no cost to the county. Very, very slight revenue. Whatever printing charges to make those, I'm going to double it and charge the companies to purchase them.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but the county employees can use their these cards?
But only if they're an essential county employee.
Wow.
It depends on the disaster at hand and the conditions we put on the disaster. In other words, if we declare a disaster and we say no unnecessary travel, just because you've got a county ID, you can't go buy a 30-pack at the Stewart's.
Gotta bring that up, don't you?
I'm just making a point that if you're a sheriff's employee, that is a 24/7 facility, a public health nurse, someone coming to the EOC, a DPW worker that's responding to a tree down or a road closure, those are essential workers, so they wouldn't need those, correct?
Any other questions, huh?
So, this is something that's just not handed out like candy.
No,
So
absolutely not.
anybody that wants to come and apply to you, you determine they're a nurse, so they can have one.
An individual cannot apply to me, it's gotta be a company, like the hospital or
Oh, I see.
community health care.
Gotcha.
And then the company would register with me, they would purchase a block, they would be numbered. I would have the number provided to the company. I'm not getting into the company's business, but if the company says, I have 20, essential service providers and their home health care nurses, I would register that numbers 1 through 20 went to St. Mary's Hospital. And
So
then it would
let's
be up
say
to-
there were nursing homes, like you have, River Edge, you have Capstone, you have
Wilkinson?
all those, Palatine, St. John's, nursing homes. Those employees there, would they be considered through their employer essential employees because they're providing, and if there's a way to get them there without jeopardizing them,
Yes.
we'll let them through the roadblock or whatever.
And it's an education process for all of us because it's new, but the first thing I would advise those people is to keep the shift they have working as long as they can legally before we put other people on the highways. But there comes a point in time that you have to try to relieve people that are working around.
Yeah, the only glitch I see with that for those type of employers is they change, employee.
That's why it'll say the company name,
Safety thing.
not an individual. So the company is registered with me, say numbers 1 through 20. It's their responsibility to have that 1 through 20. So if an employee changes, they have to give it back to the company. If not, the company's gonna have to explain to me, we've lost number 19. And then I would work with law enforcement to try to retrieve it. And on the back, we put if it's being misused or lost or stolen, to please return it.
You're gonna revoke it, right?
Yes.
But I know that's not having enough stock online.
Any other questions?
Again, I'm not positive if it's gonna work, if it's gonna be a good system, but I'm trying to come up with something to assist all of us.
Joe, we need a sponsor.
No sponsor.
Yeah, we need a sponsor in a second. I just had that problem with 3 people on the committee, it's like, okay, good.
Joe, as I've told you like 20 times, anybody can sponsor a second.
I should listen to you, right?
Yep.
Let's, we have a vote to move that to full board.
Oh, all of a sudden we're essential now, we're not.
Everybody agree? Okay, very good. All right.
Thank you.
You have to stop DWI. You want to talk about that or not?
Sure, I have the plan, yeah. Has everyone had a chance to review the plan?
Yeah.
It's pretty much unchanged, except I did have to reduce some of the money given to the police agencies. 2 years ago, I increased it, but our revenues have started to decline on a somewhat regular basis. So the City of Amsterdam, Village of Canterbury, Village of Fort Plain, Village of St. Johnsville went back to the 2012 totals. So they really technically haven't been decreased, but they lost their increase over the last couple of years. But they did not go below what the totals were a few years ago.
Can I have a sponsor in a second for that resolution?
As you can see, if you look at this plan, you'll see there's a lot of money, a lot of revenue money provided to the county through the sheriff's office, the DA's office, the probation department. And if our revenues continue to decrease, I spoke with the chairman about this, it could become a problem down the road. And if those revenues continue to decrease, we have to reduce that money given to these entities, it affects the county budget because the people in these positions are going to be looking for county money to supplement it.
Any questions? Okay. Shall we move it to full board?
Move it to full board.
Jeff, thank you as usual.
Wanted to let you know too, we're taking pictures of the construction on a weekly basis, sometimes twice a week, and I'm compiling all those photos, so if anybody ever wants to look at them, they're in my office. And at the end of the project, I would like to have an open house at the Emergency Operations Center. I would try to display some of those photos, so they're available if anybody wants us to view them.
Thank you very much.
Okay?
Okay.
Did you pick out your furniture yet?
Won't even respond. I'm working on the love seat.
Joe,
Yes, I
just to remind you guys, this Thursday at 1 o'clock is the groundbreaking at the public safety.
2 o'clock, right?
That was one.
thought it was one.
I think it's one, but I'll tell you
It's
in
one.
1 sec.
I just feel like I'm persona non grata there, so I'm not gonna.
I thought I saw it was 2.
1 o'clock.
1 o'clock? Okay.
You got that calendar? marked?
No, you're showing up at 2.
They must have told me that time for a reason, right?
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff, thank you very much. We got a resolution on the
If they're as accurate with the time as they were with the budget, forfeitures are
money, district attorney's office, do I have a sponsor in a
I'll
second?
sponsor it.
Okay, and any questions on this? I don't believe we have anybody here.
Who seconded?
Martin?
No.
Terry.
I'll second it, sure.
Okay, I thought you raised your hand out there.
We've skipped a resolution.
Yeah,
I
we
did?
gotta go back to what the use bureau one.
Excuse me, what did I skip?
We went from Jeff to stop DWI and skipped over Youth Bureau.
Are you
Oh
gonna
my
vote
God,
on the
Yeah.
district attorney first?
Oh, I had that coming up. I didn't want Jeff to sit out there for another 20 minutes, Chairman.
You had it all planned, Joe, you had it all planned.
I did, I really did say that. Is there any questions? Come on, Quack, what are you doing
You
tonight?
sold me, I believe you, yes.
Focus.
Okay, is there any other questions on this resolution? Full
board.
And, so we move it to full board?
Yes.
Full board. Thank you. Okay. Now I have the youth alternatives in incarceration resolution. We're going to take $10,887 and just transfer it to another clerk typist, the way it says right here. And could we have a sponsor in a second?
Sponsor.
I did have it there, see that?
Second.
Second, Roy, and I don't have any answers to these questions because there's no one in there, I don't think so. Does the finance chairman know anything about this or not really?
No, I don't.
Okay, so we move it to full board and then have somebody there at the meeting if we need it?
Do we ask the clerk to ask a question?
Megan, you could correct me on this, but I believe that, it's my understanding that there was a senior account clerk typist position in the budget, and they filled it with the clerk typist.
So they just move the money over
So
there?
they're moving the money from the one line to
What it
the
looks
other.
like.
I may not be fully clear on
I
this, but we
think-
could
I
have,
think that,
If you need any
That's correct,
clarification.
yeah.
we're here for
I just, isn't a senior clerk typist
is higher,
is
Is
higher?
higher.
right. So they
So
downgraded.
he's
it.
saving money, supposedly.
Okay,
No.
can we move this to full board or no? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the county attorney has requested an executive session. Now, we do it different than here than this city used to do. Do I need a first and a second for that?
Yes.
What's the reason?
To discuss litigation, I was at a conference this afternoon, actually all day, on one of our litigations with the jail, so.
To discuss litigation.
A motion.
Okay, we got a first and a second by Terry.
Can I?
All right, wait a
All we need
minute.
to do is notify the press if we're going to conduct any other business.
Can we do-
After the,
Right, can
Why
we
don't we do the last committee first
Yes.
and then go into executive session so the press don't have to
let him make them?
stay here?
That's our education.
We want John to stick around.
Legislation, that's
We want you to
education.
stick around.
So we have a motion to,
Motion to adjourn, I guess, until after.
Temporarily.
After the next
Sponsor.
meeting, okay?
Wait, who's?
Take a recess.
Sponsor for
there you
that.
go.
Well,
Okay,
no.
hold on. We're recessing?
Yes,
this one?
motion to recess.
Motion to recess?
Terry? Second, Bob? All in favor of recessing?
Aye.
Okay, we recess.
Okay.
Next.
We may paddle differently, but we still get down the river, right?
Yeah, that's-